Good morning, everyone. I have a bit of a different setup, so my perspective is a little bit different. I have a third screen, so I'm getting used to how the mouse works. So apologies if things are a little bumpy and if you don't like the new direction you're looking at me from. I don't know if I can fix it. We'll see. Anyway, moving into the news. Here is an update to a story I was talking about earlier, the cartel, the tow truck cartel. And it says, CP24 says, several Toronto police officers have been suspended amid internal probe into corruption in GTA towing industry. So that's an interesting development on that. There's news there. They're actually looking into it. So, hey, who knows? Maybe those police officers' salaries won't be reinstated and they can say, hey, we defunded ourselves or something. I don't know. Who knows? Moving into the National Post, they're saying bring back Parliament to monitor soaring cost of COVID-19 measures, Senate report says. This is from July 15th. Today is July 16th. So the costs are up there. They're at least a year's GDP and $1 trillion debt. And we're not even halfway. Well, we're just past halfway through the year. And I mean, there's a lot more to come, right? There's a lot more to come. We need to get the economy turning to start paying this all back. And yet we're still seeing hesitation on the part of even municipal governments, provincial governments, federal governments. I haven't seen a second wave anywhere. I've seen lots of successful reopenings, although down in the States, I have seen California has closed all down again. And there are people upset. Both sides, the people who are saying just essential businesses should be open are upset that there's not more compliance and more people aren't on board, etc. So, I don't know. It's an interesting time when even the health response is polarized. Everything seems to be, there's mask wearers and not mask wearers. There's a division everywhere. As people who say spend more money, and people who say no, we need to start being fiscally responsible. I'm in the fiscally responsible camp. Yeah. Here's an interesting, we're going to get into WE. And I've been doing a lot of reporting on this because I think that the government desperately wants this to go away. If they can make this go away, they'll make this go away. But I don't think it's going away. It's the scandal that keeps on giving. So who does the CBC get to come and be a panel person on their Power in Politics, PNP, I believe that's what it is, CBC panel talking about WE, right? And this is Amanda Alvaro. Alvaro Alisev's the MP, the former Liberal, then deputy CPC leader, right? Deputy leader, just because I don't know, she was in Toronto riding and a female, and then now she's not the deputy leader, stepping down to endorse McKay, who I think they're going to shove in there. At the last minute, he's the most popular. Anyway, they get somebody who is actually embroiled in the scandal themselves. Okay, so this is Jackie, and she says, CBC News going out of its way to show itself as an absolute joke today. Of all the people they could book as a panelist to opine on the WE scam on PNP, CBC's Power in Politics, they book one of the people personally caught up in the scandal. So she is the co-founder of Artbound. Artbound is a new Toronto-based nonprofit initiative working in support of Free the Children. Free the Children is the Kielburger Brothers charity before it became WE, right? And man, we're going to look at all of those holdings because that's interesting too, right? There's something else going on here. There's something else, and I'm going to get to what the something else is in a minute, I think. But it's interesting that CBC thinks it's appropriate to find somebody who is an acolyte of the Kielburger Brothers and a liberal apologist. Look at her Twitter. She wrote an op-ed column for the Washington Post that says, well, here's her tweet. I wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post on why Justin Trudeau should be PM. This election has been ugly and a lot is at stake. Progressives need to come together on October 21st. I hope you'll take time to read this. So she is a person who is best friends with Katie Telford. The PMO, direct ties to the PMO, is a liberal strategist, and I've done lots of, I did a whole half show on her, so I'm not gonna go again through all of that. But she has large connections to the Liberal Party, and she is not at all. She's not CBC is not being genuine in having her as a completely nonpartisan person. Sorry, something just went wrong with my mouse, so hold on. Right, here I'm back. I fixed it. So I think it's disingenuous of the CBC to pull garbage like that. Like, oh, let's bring this person who is already making money for the Kielburgers, and ask them what they think about We Scam and how the Prime Minister's doing. Oh, you're just friends with the PMO? Right, sure. And here, I'll just show you this. Artbound, right? Seamus O'Regan was the honorary chair back when he was a television personality, and co-founder Amanda Alvaro and Katie Telford, right? They're BFFs. I saw in articles when I was doing articles about her. Okay, moving into, this is from July 14th, and it says Trudeau apology means fairly certain finding of a contravention of the ethics laws, former ethics commissioner. And she basically says, yeah, if he's apologizing now, they're probably going to find something. She gave up the position in 2018, and using her experience, she gave an interview to Global News. So that's her opinion. Very interesting. Here is We Charity announcing restructuring amid student grant controversy. Now, here's what I was talking about earlier. There seems to be something else going on here. If all that happened was Trudeau is giving $1 billion to people who paid his mom and brother for speaking, then isn't that Trudeau's misstep and not WE's? Is it illegal to pay speakers? No. And it's not illegal to pay the Prime Minister's mother or any of those types of things. It doesn't matter what your public persona is. It's not illegal to do those things. And the illegal part is the fact that Trudeau is acting as a funnel to directly pay his family through We, right? Trudeau gives you $1 billion, you give his mom $300,000. Trudeau has given his mom $300,000. You see how that works, right? So that's why that's problematic. But here, why is We restructuring like this? Now, I know this stinks, right? Participating in this deal implies that there's a problem. I get that. I understand that. But doing this is like fanning the flames, right? If there's a little bit of smoke before, if everybody was like, that's a little weird. Now it's like, well, okay. Call the fire trucks, right? Let's go. There's something happening over there. So here it is. We Charity says it's launching a restructuring and corporate review to refocus its mission after becoming embroiled in controversy over a contract to administer a $900 million federal summer grant program. After much reflection and with great care and concern for all our stakeholders, we've made some important decisions to refocus our mission, simplify our program offering, and undertake a series of governance and structural changes, said a statement released tonight. We Day activities will be canceled in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, quote, for the foreseeable future, says the statement. We says that it hosted 137 events over its history. Weird time to announce that for the COVID-19 pandemic? That's why you're canceling We events? Couldn't you do something online? Isn't that you've got lots of funding from the school boards? I'm sure that you could put something together for them. And honestly, I'm going to be contacting the school board to make sure we're pulling any support for We in the next budget if the current budget is already passed. And if the current budget is already passed, I'm going to see if we can revise it to remove support for We. But who knows who knows how far I'll get with that. We'll see. But isn't it strange to take the core of your business, the core of your I mean, you're a funded company, you're funded through public service and like essentially government money through school boards too, right? And to say like, oh, we're not going to do that anymore to refocus our offering? It's, I don't know. It stinks. It stinks. We Charity says it's bringing in outside experts from the consulting firm Korn Ferry to review and streamline its structure and governance. The charity also says it will hire a risk and compliance officer who will report directly to the board of directors. Yeah, interesting. Here's a Liberal connection that I thought was worth reporting on. This is from 2017, May 4th, 2017. CBC political activities audit of charities suspended by Liberals. The Liberal government is suspending the few remaining political activity audits of charities after an expert panel report recommended removing a political gag order imposed on them by the Conservatives 5 years ago. As an immediate first step to respond to the panel's recommendations, National Revenue Minister Diane Lebothier, I got that so wrong, sorry about that, has asked the CRA to suspend all action in relation to the remaining audits and objections that were part of the political activities audit program initiated in 2012, a release Thursday said. I scroll down. The change would be to, quote, explicitly allow charities to fully engage without limitation in nonpartisan public policy dialogue and development, provided that it is subordinate to and furthers their charitable purposes. The CRA would also dramatically change its enforcement activities. The panel reports, based on wide consultation last fall, sorry, my mouse went crazy again. I'm gonna find it. also said that there was broad consensus in the charity sector that partisan activities endorsing particular candidates or parties should remain forbidden. The panel recommended that a charity's political activities, whether pressing for a change in government policy or buttonholing a politician, be judged on whether they further the group's charitable purpose. The proposed changes would eliminate current rules that restrict a charity's political activities to 10% of their resources. Critics have argued the rules are unclear on definitions of what constitutes a political act. Scroll down a little bit. The panel heard from 167 individuals in 7 cities and received 420 unique online submissions, apart from people signing online petitions. The report's recommendations are more closely modeled on modern charity law in the United Kingdom. Panel members include the CEO of the David Suzuki Foundation, Peter Robinson, and a charities lawyer and partner at Miller Thompson, Susan Manwaring. Interesting, right? So they repealed a charity's ability or inability to engage in partisan activities supporting a politician, and they basically said if the politician supports your ideological or supports your charity's purpose, then you can support them, basically, and you can use as much of your charity's resources as you'd like to support that politician. So $1 billion war chest to WE ends up being a $1 billion liberal war chest, provided they give some money for volunteering. I wonder what the volunteering would look like. Things are becoming more clear. Interesting, right? Forget needing an election. You just need a pandemic where people get to volunteer and volunteer online. Man, who needs Russian bots when you've got Canadian students, right? Unleash them. Wow, that's one interesting idea. Here's Brian Lilly, and he's looking at WE Charity from a financial point of view, and lots of people say follow the money. Who's financially benefiting from this? Very interesting stuff put together by Brian Lilly for the Toronto Sun, and here we go. WE Charity listed real estate holdings worth $43.7 million in 2018. In 2012, Craig Kielburger challenged school kids across the country to help change the world with the smallest of donations, the penny. By the end of the 2013 school year, $1.4 million was raised from more than 3,000 schools across the country. They were told they would be helping to give people clean drinking water. I wonder how those children would feel knowing they were donating to a charity that was about to become a major player in real estate. Since that penny campaign in 2013, WE Charity has gone from listing $10.8 million in real estate holdings to $43.7 million reported to the Canada Revenue Agency in 2018, 5 years later. Yet even that staggering growth doesn't tell the whole story for Kielburger Inc. That's 300%, right? That's roughly 300%, right? No? Or is it 400%? 300%? Let me know in the comments. I'm interested, but I'm not going to run and find it right now. But that is staggering growth, considering, like, did the wider economy? And I mean, maybe real estate, increasing the value of real estate should be factored into that. But even so, like, that's a lot of growth. Like, that's as sure a thing as you're going to get, right? If you've got the money to buy into that market, that's a pretty sure bet. And especially with the immigration levels and the continuing construction and the continuing pressure on housing and the continuing pressure on housing as a human right, all of that stuff says real estate in Toronto is going to get more expensive. So, I mean, all of this is just so interesting, right? Okay, back to this. Yet even that staggering growth doesn't tell the whole story for the Kielburger Incorporated. WE Charity's headquarters at the corner of Queen Street East and Parliament Street, just east of Toronto's downtown core, is the anchor building for the massive pile of real estate that WE and its affiliated organizations have purchased. It consists of 15 parcels of land owned by 4 different WE organizations: WE Charity, Me to WE, Asset Holdings Incorporated, Me to WE Foundation, and Imagine One Day International Organization. These organizations are all part of what Brian calls, Craig Kielburger Inc., the collection of charities, foundations, and businesses that all have Craig and Mark Kielburger at their core. These affiliated organizations have not only brought up the south side of Queen Street from Parliament to Berkeley Street, they've also bought up several properties on the north side of Queen Street and several on Berkeley as well. It's a strange situation for 4 organizations that are supposedly distinct, each buying buildings and plots of land near each other. From the publicly available records, WE Charity has spent at least $23.1 million buying up real estate in the area. Me to WE Assets Holdings spent $8.5 million. The Me to WE Foundation spent $4.1 million, and Imagine One Day has spent $2.9 million. In total, That is $38.7 million, buying up real estate in one up-and-coming Toronto neighborhood, all from charities or businesses who have pledged to help the poor in the developing world. Visiting the area, locals did confirm that they have heard rumors a redevelopment is in the works, but nothing concrete. Several people with experience in land development looked at the real estate collection and told me it looked like it was being assembled for a condo play. And for WE's plans, it's all rather vague. In December 2018, the organization announced that it wanted to launch the WE Social Entrepreneurship Center, a 41,000 square foot facility dedicated to helping budding business leaders under the age of 35. That still leaves plenty of room for a condo tower or two. I asked WE straight up if they had plans to redevelop and if they had met with or been in discussion with buildings or developers. They directed me to an article on their entrepreneurship plans. These plans, however, were put on pause when the COVID-19 pandemic began, and we have not yet made a decision on next steps for the project, we said in an emailed statement. In a separate email, we defended their actions in buying significant amounts of real estate. Through the purchase of real estate, WE Charity has avoided substantial office leasing or rental costs, enabling it to spend additional funds on projects rather than administrative costs, the statement read. WE Charity estimates the net overall savings of owning its office space versus leasing at approximately $1.2 million annually. As for where the money comes from, we insist that the buildings the charity buys are paid for with money from targeted donors and supporters, not money from youth fundraising or program funds. That explains the WE Charity land holdings, but not the holdings of Me to We Asset Holdings, Me to We Foundation, or Imagine One Day. As I have reported before, while legally separate, they are all closely tied organizations, all built around the Kielburger Empire. It appears that one man, Victor Lee, who Charity Intelligence says is CFO of We and Me to We, We and Me to We, oversees the financials for at least two of the organizations. We did not answer our questions asking it to confirm that Lee is CEO of both entities. If CFO, not CEO, If there are problems with blurred lines and donor confusion as charity watchdog groups Charity Intelligence has found, then these two coordinated real estate purchases don't do anything to clear the air. Is We an independent charity or part of a larger complex of groups built around Craig and Mark Kielburger? After reviewing their structure and their land holdings, it's getting more difficult to say that they're truly independent. More like just another part of Kielburger Inc. We Charity, the players. This goes through each one. I just wanted to highlight this. Formed in 1995 as Free the Children by Craig and Mark Kielburger to end child labor and provide aid in the developing world. Okay, so that's a lofty goal, but it ties it nicely to this one, Free the Children. So the art-bound woman is on CBC telling how everything's just fine, right? Nothing to see here. Go back to sleep, everyone. The Liberals are just great. They're wonderful, aren't they? Here is, hold on. Oh, my mouse again. No, it's fixed. Here is the Commons Finance Committee to begin probing WE Charity's volunteer contract. So we're going to hear about this. They're going to ask a bunch of questions to a bunch of high-end Liberals or high-ranking Liberals, cabinet members, or cabinet ministers, cabinet, whatever. And maybe even the Prime Minister. And you know what you're going to hear? You're going to hear the same rhetoric. It's just going to be repackaged up in an answer that doesn't answer any questions. And it's just, I can already predict it because we've already watched this a bunch of times. And nothing's going to happen because nobody cares, right? The frustrating part is nobody really cares. Here's an interesting story. Andrew Lawton is putting it kind of succinctly. CBC News has not verified the allegations or spoken to the person making them, so CBC is running anonymous allegations without even trying to corroborate them. CBC News yesterday ran Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet denies sexual misconduct allegations. Allegations posted to social media on Tuesday describe an incident from 1999. The incident is anonymously posted on social media, and the CBC people have not talked to the person who posted them, and they're legitimately reporting this as fact. This is a lot of people have been speculating online that it's retribution for Blanchet saying that Trudeau should step back from being the prime minister and give it over to Freeland. Man, I don't know what this is, but it's one interesting coincidence, that's for sure. My goodness, having somebody who says, maybe this prime minister should step back because, we can't really realistically trust him that he's doing the right job here until this ethics thing is behind him. And this happens? Man, that $1 billion bailout of the media gets quite a lot more than $1 billion to WE, that's for sure. Okay, National Post is reporting Liberal ministers Hajdu, Decloux traveled during pandemic even while warning the public to stay home. Hypocrites. These Liberals are just awful hypocrites. They're just terrible, awful hypocrites. Here's the news report. Even as they warned the public to stay home and avoid all travel during the pandemic's height, 2 senior Liberal cabinet ministers were moving between Ottawa and their ridings regularly using government plane and a ministerial driver. Health Minister Patty Hajdu traveled back and forth from her home in Thunder Bay, Ontario to Ottawa 3 times in April using a government plane, reported website Blacklock's reporter. She wasn't alone in making trips home, as Treasury Board President Jean-Yves Decloux also made multiple visits to his riding in Quebec City during March and April, when cases of COVID-19 in Ontario and Quebec were at their peak. Decloux was driven back and forth by his ministerial driver. Hajdu took the lead in the government's early response to the pandemic and frequently encouraged Canadians to stay home to avoid spreading the virus. She also frequently encouraged Canadians to view the crisis as a common cause and joint sacrifice. During one press conference in March, she said it was imperative that people did everything possible to avoid spreading the virus. This is very serious, and just because you're not feeling the illness or you don't have it necessarily in your community, even one case, what we're trying to do so diligently together at all levels of government is prevent this disease from spreading towards other communities. According to the government's online travel disclosure, Hajdu traveled to her riding between April 3rd and 6th, April 10th and 13th, April 30th and May 4th, as well as between May 15th and 19th, all on the government's aircraft. On Friday, April 10th, Easter weekend, Hajdu tweeted, "It's important to remember that now is not the time for gatherings with family and friends. Connect with others with a phone call or a video chat instead." Hours later, she flew into her riding and returned to Ottawa on the Monday, via aircraft as well. And the same is true of Decloux. He was driving around with his ministerial driver at government expense. 5-hour drives from his riding back and forth. Just wild. Just wild. My goodness, I'm going long today, and I didn't think this was going to be this long. I apologize. I'll speed up. No, not really. MPs forced to release documents about Dr. Tam's U-turn on mask advice. At the beginning, it was very clear. She said masks hurt healthy people, and then she did a U-turn. We don't get this until September 7th at the earliest. September 7th. It's going to be useless. People are being shot and killed by the OPP for not wearing a mask. So the situation here is a gentleman went to a Minden grocery store, got into an altercation with a clerk. I don't know if there was an assault between him and the clerk, but it was he didn't want to wear a mask. I think he verbally assaulted him, but I don't actually know. And then he drove home 40 kilometers away. The police got his license plate, went to his home. He apparently shot at the police, and then he was shot and killed. And this is unbelievable that this is happening in Canada. This started with a person being frustrated because he couldn't wear a mask because he found it hard to breathe, from what I've been reading, and ended with a person dead because police showed up to what? Say wear a mask? Why is it any of their business? Why is the government becoming this draconian this fast? Why is it happening all across the West? Why is Walmart mandating masks across the United States? It is very, very concerning to watch, because this isn't by accident. And stuff like this is the public's reaction to this, because police shouldn't be enforcing no masks. They should be stopping people who are blockading trains, right? They should be enforcing the illegal gun laws that are being broken brazenly in downtown Toronto. They should be looking for real criminals. Instead, they're looking for racism under any rock, or people who are disobeying mask orders to go to their house and then shoot them. Now, again, I don't know the exact details of what happened on that property. I wasn't there. I don't even think that the police have released the details. That wouldn't be like current Canadian police. They don't release details. So I feel like it's hard to talk about this intelligently, but fundamentally this started with masks and frayed tempers, and it ended with a person dead, and we shouldn't be going in this direction. This is the wrong direction. This is not making things better. This is not helping people. Masks hurt more than they help. Masks hurt healthy people. This guy didn't die of COVID-19. Defund police? It's such a contradiction, because when police aren't behaving to enforce the laws of the land, when there's two levels of justice in the world, in the country, if the rule of law is such that me to we can buy up a bunch of buildings and take $1 billion contract and then hide all the illegality, and the prime minister is allowed to take all this taxpayer money and funnel it to his mom through a charity. If that is all just fine and the police are more worried about this, that's a really big red flag, isn't it? That's a really big problem, isn't it? If the charities are allowed to use 100% of their revenue to be politically active, where's that Black Lives Matter money going? Does it go to anybody in Canada, or is it all just Democrats in the United States? Are you sure? Do you know? I don't. Why is all of this illegality okay, but this guy gets shot for trying to breathe properly while in a grocery store? How has that been vilified to this level? And I'm sorry that I'm ending on this. I feel like it deserves more. But if I started on this, I don't know how I would get into the rest of it, right? So, my goodness. The problems with this are massive and obvious. And my fear is that what's going to happen is people are going to say the old guy should have just wore the mask. And that's as tone deaf as dismissing fears that the elderly people will be killed by death panels, right? Like, look at what happened in our long-term care facilities. There were some without air conditioning. There were some without all sorts of basic necessities that are necessities, and they were just let there to die with COVID-19 and all of the other things that were going on. It's irresponsible, and it's very concerning, and I don't know how to fix it, because it doesn't seem like there's a public that's willing to listen. The public is willing to listen to anything that the media spins. And so if you go against it, I was talking with a couple of people yesterday. Somebody posted about how somebody didn't want to wear a mask, and I linked to one of the many articles that I've been talking about that shows efficacy of cloth masks is suspect. The likelihood of being able to pick this up off of a surface is very small. And the whole idea of masks is as effective at stopping viral or flu-like symptoms or transmission is folly, and that has been tested across multiple peer-reviewed studies. But anything that I brought up was not good enough. And whatever, that's fine. We can have an argument, but it's funny because they didn't see it that way. And it was such an interesting experience because, like, you can't talk to people who have already made up their mind. There's no convincing them, right? And that's what I was talking about at the beginning. Everything is polarized. Healthcare is polarized, right? Like, if you don't believe X, then you're a Nazi, or you're a right-wing extremist, or you're whatever these what are the dog whistles or the usual insults are these days, right? Like, and it's easy to dismiss. It's the same as, oh, you're racist, so your opinion doesn't count. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. It's not even the ability to have discord, the ability to turn an idea. If you have a better idea than me, then prove me wrong. But calling me names doesn't beat me in an argument. And people don't understand that these days. People try and have an argument by resorting to, like, laughing emojis. And I'm like, well, you lost. Like, do you feel smart, or, like, did that laughing emoji really get me? Come on. So the discord is completely divided. You can't have a rational conversation. And we need to have a rational conversation. We need to be able to talk about this stuff. We need to be able to look at the numbers and say this is not a legitimate reason to shut down our entire economy. We need to be able to say about things like this is abhorrent. And the whole reason this happened is because high stress is the best. I thought there was a T word. Anyway, it doesn't matter. High stress situation and people having mask expectations and other people not knowing the magic words. I'm exempt because of, I say the public order has 3 exemptions and 2 of them apply to me. That's what I say. And those are the magic words. They have to say, okay, there's no situation where that's not acceptable in Canada, period. Maybe on a plane, but even then, you're allowed to eat without a mask. Get a carrot. It's just really disappointing. I know I've been diatribing about this for a little while now, so I'm going to stop. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com. Check out CanadaReport.co. Check out SpeakingMoistly.co. And have a wonderful, wonderful